In October of 2021, Walt Disney World in Florida celebrates its 50th anniversary. For my entire life, it's been the gold standard by which all other amusement parks are compared. To bring that experience home, in 1990 we got Adventures in the Magic Kingdom for the NES. The game captures the excitement of touring a Disney theme park and features many different types of gameplay for each attraction you visit. The game was developed by Capcom, the company that brought us a ton of great Disney games for the NES. When Capcom got the license to publish Hudson Soft's Mickey Mousecapades in North America, it opened the door for Capcom to create new games based on Disney properties. Their first one was the massive hit DuckTales, and they followed it up with games based on Rescue Rangers, Tailspin, and Darkwing Duck. For Adventures in the Magic Kingdom, Capcom wanted to do something different with the Disney license. The idea of setting a game within a Disney theme park was an interesting one. Instead of menus like in DuckTales or Mega Man, the player could select a level simply by walking to the different attractions in the park. In this way, the menu could become an interactive part of the game. But which Disney park should they emulate? In the late 1980s, there were three: Disneyland, California, Walt Disney World in Florida, and Tokyo Disneyland. Each Disney park had its differences, but also many similarities as well. Each park features a castle at the center to help guests get their bearings, and many iconic attractions exist at all three parks. While the box art clearly depicts Cinderella's castle from Florida's Disney World, the castle in the game looks more like Sleeping Beauty's castle from Disneyland in California. In the manual, it's just called the Enchanted Castle because the idea here was to create a generic Magic Kingdom that could represent any of the three existing parks. The attractions featured in the game include favorites like Big Thunder Mountain, Pirates of the Caribbean, Space Mountain, and the Haunted Mansion. It also includes Autopia, which still exists today, but was renamed at the Florida park to Tomorrowland Speedway. While the Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean are side-scrolling platforming levels common to NES games at the time, the other rides have unique mechanics to keep the gameplay from getting stale. All 5 attractions existed at all 3 Disney parks, so the in-game world would feel familiar to any Disney fan. Although Tokyo Disneyland was taken into consideration, the game was never released in Japan. Capcom did release it in Europe in 1992 to coincide with the opening of Euro Disney, which would be renamed Disneyland Paris. Unlike the parks modeled for the game, however, Euro Disney didn't have Space Mountain, and their Haunted Mansion is called Phantom Manor for some reason. Adventures in the Magic Kingdom wasn't a huge hit for Capcom when it released in North America in 1990. It's likely that it was overshadowed by Capcom's own Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers game that was released in the same month. I also think that their choice for the game's hero didn't help. You play as some generic guy in a cowboy hat, a character that really doesn't scream Disney. I think that this game would have sold a lot better if they had made the main character Mickey himself and had just titled it Mickey's Adventures in the Magic Kingdom. But I'm sure Capcom had their reasons. In the end, Capcom succeeded in creating something interesting and different with the Disney license, and while the game didn't make IGN's list of the top 100 NES games of all time, I still think it's worth checking out. Modern players that attempt this game will still have to deal with all of the challenges the NES is notorious for. The Thunder Mountain train features dead ends that will kill you instantly, and this game has much more difficult platforming than most of the other Disney games. But what if I told you the secret to getting lots of stars early so you can use your special skills as much as you want? What if I showed you the easy path to make sure you never derail on Big Thunder Mountain? And what if I showed you how to get every key, even the one held by the Master Spectre in the Haunted Mansion? Well, on today's episode of You Can Beat Video Games, we'll learn all of that and more. If you're new to the channel, we're doing deep dives on retro video games and giving you the professional strategies that can be used by the casual gamer. Please make sure to subscribe and click the bell for notifications so you don't miss any new videos. Let's get started. Alright, Adventures in the Magic Kingdom. At the beginning, you'll be asked to enter your name and, well, Goofy has really goofed up this time. I don't know who put him in charge of the keys, but he left the golden key that we need to open the parade gate inside the Enchanted Castle, and the only way to get in there is to open the door with 6 silver keys. Now, why does a castle that seems to be mostly decorative need that much security? I can only think of one reason. That's where they keep Walt Disney's cryogenically frozen head. Someday science is going to have a cure for being a disembodied head, and then they're going to bring Walt back. I wonder what he'll think about what his company has become. So we take control of Cowboy Hat Guy and start walking around the park, and as we do, we're going to run into some people who will ask us trivia questions. Now, we need 6 keys to get into the castle, but there's only 5 attractions, so to get the 6th key, we need to talk to these people and answer their trivia questions correctly. Once we talk to that one at the front of the park and get his question correct, another girl will appear over here near Space Mountain, and she will have a question as well. Some of the questions, like this one, are pretty difficult, so I will put a link to an answer sheet in this video's description. Once you get the first 2 questions correct, head on down into Space Mountain. Space Mountain is my favorite classic Disney ride. It's a very fun roller coaster, and here in the game, it's the most different of the 5 attractions. There are no stars to collect in here, and it's really just a simple Simon Says type game. You'll watch the heads-up display at the bottom of the screen, and you need to input any commands that are shown there. Whenever you see an alien spaceship, you're going to press the B button, and whenever you see an asteroid, you'll shoot it with the A button, and otherwise you're just going to input the directions that you see. Now, if you push the wrong direction or the wrong button, you'll take a damage, and if you're not fast enough, you'll also take a damage. So you need to be entering these quickly. The good news is, it's always the same. If you memorize it, you can easily get through this, but it's a little bit easier than that. You probably don't need to memorize it, although I did put all the instructions on the screen here so that you can see all the commands that you need to make. For the most part, it's not very difficult. I'll show you what happens if you take a damage, so that's what that looks like. You can take 3 damage before you'll actually die in here. Now, whenever you get to part D, you'll have some options where you'll be able to go left or right. Whenever you're in part D, we want to choose right. That's going to take us on the easier path, and you'll see we just have to do 2 asteroids here. We'll go right, do another asteroid, right, up, up. So whenever you have a choice, just choose right, and it'll be easy, but whenever we're in part E, you want to go left whenever you have an option. So in part D, you want to go right when you have an option, but in part E, you want to go left. That will put you on the easier path. Part E has a lot of commands that you need to do, and at the very end, they start coming at you fairly quickly, but if you have a few hearts left, you should be totally fine. Just keep your eyes on that heads-up display, and enter the commands as you see them, and you'll easily be able to get this first silver key. And that's it. The stars will slow down. We've made it to point F. So 1 down, 5 to go. Up here, we can go into our second attraction. This one is called Autopia. The game may call it Autopia, but you may know it better as Bump and Jump. Hold A and press up twice to get going, and if you press select, you'll notice that there's a time limit. You don't have to actually beat the other cars in the race, you just have to get to the end before the time expires, and you also need to avoid driving off the road or jumping and landing out of bounds. And by jumping, that's when you hit these ramps. you probably want to just avoid most of the ramps, except for this one. If you try to do a small jump here, you can get a bunch of stars, and you can't actually use your stars here in Autopia other than to get an extra life, but you will be able to use them in the other levels, so we want to build up some of them now. In this section, you need to make a few jumps to get over the water. That part's a little bit tricky, but you want to head over to the right here, and if you cut across, you can get 4 stars on the left side. Try to avoid this jump if you can, and you're going to just keep driving up here. Remember, we don't need to get past the other cars, we just need to beat the clock. If you press B, that is the brake, and you need to come to a solid stop so that you can get across that bridge. And that sound means that we're running out of time, but we're also close to the end right now, so we should be in good shape. Once you see these fountains, you'll know that you've made it to the end, so just try to collect as many stars as you can, and get over the finish line before the time expires. That's 2 keys down and 4 to go. You are allowed to repeat levels here, so if you'd like to go back into Autopia to get more stars, that is something that you can do. As we head over here to the left, we meet another guy with a trivia question. This one's pretty easy, but the questions are randomized, so you'll probably have a different one whenever you play the game. He tells us about another question in front of It's a Small World, but before we do that, let's head on up into Big Thunder Mountain. Make sure to pay attention at the beginning here. Mickey will tell you which station you need to end on, and if you don't know that, it's going to be a huge problem when we get to the end. I like to take the left fork at the beginning, and if you press the B button, you can slow your train way down. That's how you're going to avoid these mechanical barriers, as well as the rocks that come flying around. If you don't touch any direction, your train will just naturally go down the track, but if you hold left or right, you will bear that direction whenever you go to a fork. So whenever you get to this part with the dinosaur bones, you want to stay on the right until there's less than 300 meters left. So wait up there on the right side, you'll see how many meters are left, and it's right after you go past those pigs. That's when you need to make your move to get to the station that you need to go to, and we need to go to Station 1. So after we see those pigs, we need to head all the way to the left and keep bearing to the left until we get all the way into this station. Now, what if we had to do station number 2? Same thing, whenever you get to about 250 meters to go, so look in the upper right, this is when we need to make our move again. So head all the way over to the left, just like we were going to Station 1. Stay to the left, but right down here at this point, we're going to go to the right and stay on this path, and that will take you to goal number 2. Station 3 is the most difficult one to hit. You want to stay on the right side for a long time, so just stay on the right until you see this like rocky outcropping that appears right there. Now you're going to go left, left, right, and that will take you to goal number 3. Goal number 4, on the other hand, is the easiest one. All you need to do is hold right. So from this point on, if you just hold right, you'll definitely make it to goal number 4, no problem. That's all you have to do. So I'm just holding right, and there it is, goal number 4. So if you get goal number 4, that's pretty lucky, but the other ones could be a little bit more difficult. And that's all there is to it. One nice thing about Thunder Mountain, and one of the reasons why we do it early, is that any star that you find in there is worth 5 stars instead of the usual 1. So that's a good way to build up a bunch of stars, so that whenever we get into the 2 platforming levels, which are the ones that we have left, we'll have a lot of stars to work with. Over here, we answer another trivia question, and he tells us about a dog at the front gate that had a key on his collar. Could that be the last question that we need to answer? Let's come down here and find out. Well, it sure doesn't look like there's a dog. Nope, it's just some guy in a blue hat. I can totally understand why these characters would be skeptical of a random guy in a cowboy hat, but if they need to make sure that we're trustworthy, I think they can do better than asking a question that anyone that's seen the movie Pinocchio would know the answer to. I mean, maybe a secret handshake or something? Well, in any case, once you've answered that question, we're going to head on up into the Haunted Mansion. Quick heads up as we get started here, if you touch this red ghost, you will immediately be kicked out of the level. That guy's the Master Spectre. He's the boss of the level, and you don't lose a life for that, but you do have to start over, so be careful of him and just let him get ahead of you before you start walking. The instruction manual calls this attraction the Haunted House, which has to be a mistake because Disney has so much branding behind the Haunted Mansion. They don't call it that in the European one, where it's Phantom Manor, because there's a Phantom of the Opera sub-theme going on there. But this game came out before Euro Disney even opened, so that's not a consideration. I like how they incorporated the ghost appearing in the mirror thing. That's a cool touch. But this is just a simple platforming level. There are some tricky platforms to navigate here. You have a weapon that you can use by pressing the B button. It's these candles, but you have a limited number of them that you can use, so you'll want to pick them up whenever you can. These platforming levels are where you're going to use the stars. If you press the select button, you'll bring up a menu to use stars, and you can use them to freeze the enemies on the screen or to make yourself temporarily invincible. You can also use them to heal a life point if you've taken damage. Up here you want to throw your candles at these dancing ghosts. They will try to move towards you, so just shoot them whenever you have a chance, and then jump onto this chandelier whenever it's in a lower position, and jump from there to this flying throne. Onto that next chandelier, and then jump to this low throne, and then to the higher one. Jump over to this chandelier, but you need to be careful here. You don't want to jump to that flying throne whenever the chandelier is low. You want to jump to it when it's high, and then you can jump over to this moving chair. I don't recommend jumping while you're on this moving chair. Just stay still and throw your candles whenever the books come flying towards you. You can use the freeze or the invincible magics here from the select menu, but they wear off really fast when you're just on this moving platform, so I don't really recommend it. Make sure to jump here to get to this throne, and it will drop out from under you, so you need to jump quickly to the next one. Make sure to make a big jump to get to the end, and that's it. Once we jump onto this moving throne, it will take us up to the boss. If you didn't save any candles for the boss, that's okay. There's a ton of them up here. From the select menu, we can use our invincible magic, and we'll become invulnerable, and we'll be able to easily defeat the Master Spectre. Now, if you don't want to use the invincible magic, you just want to keep the Spectre far away from you and throw the candles at him. He'll usually kind of float around at the bottom of the screen, and it takes 8 hits to defeat this boss. So that's 6, 2 more should do it, 1, 2. And we now possess 4 of the 6 keys. 2 more to go. The Haunted Mansion is one of the most difficult attractions in the game with all of those moving platforms to navigate, so once we've completed that one, it shouldn't be too hard to finish the game. Up here we can answer another question. This one's answer is 16, but it seems like the dog ran away over towards Autopia. We'll finish that trivia series pretty soon, but before we do that, let's head on down to the last attraction, Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm sure that when they made this game, they had no idea that Pirates of the Caribbean would become such a big movie franchise for Disney. But there's no Johnny Depp or Keira Knightley here. Unfortunately, we're weaponless, but we have a lot of stars, so we can try our freeze power, which you can see is somewhat effective, but you can still be damaged by the enemies, and it doesn't last for very long. We can also use our stars to restore the damage that we lost. Each time you use the life up, you'll only heal 1 point of damage, so if you need to heal 2, you'll need to use it twice. We can push these barrels to use them as weapons, and if we come over here to the right, we want to watch out for this guy that throws a barrel from the window, and we'll save our first damsel in distress. Then we can jump down here and take this boat over to the next section. Watch out for the splashes from these cannonballs, they can actually damage you. You may need to jump to avoid them, but the boat will follow you, so don't worry about falling into the water. jump up here, and wait for 2 fireballs, then jump across, wait for 1 fireball, and this one's tricky, so I do recommend using the invincibility. Sometimes that 3rd fireball might get you and knock you into the pit of lava, which is instant death. We'll save our 2nd damsel in distress and head on down the ladder. Make sure to jump from the edge here and jump far to clear that gap. It's actually easy to mess that one up. And down here I like to use invincibility so that we can avoid the gold that's thrown by these skeletons, and then just use it again to get to the end. Here we'll find a candle, which is a weapon, but we can't use it until we go up the ladder, so get to the top of the ladder and suddenly the candle will become active. You don't have a limit on how many times you could use it in this level, so make sure to save this damsel in distress on the right, that's the 4th one, and then you'll want to climb back up the ladder and take out this guy on top of the cannon. A cool thing you can do is with the candle you can actually make the cannon fire, pretty neat. And if you come down here we can just jump up and grab the 5th damsel in distress, so there's only 1 left. The easiest way to go is across the top of these roofs, so just stay up here on the top. There's only 1 enemy up there. And just keep making your way across to the right and then climb down the ladder, where we will find the 6th and final damsel in distress, and then you can just walk off to the right, where we can light the signal fire and complete the stage. That's it. We've done it. We've completed all 5 attractions. All we need to do now is answer a few trivia questions and get that last silver key. There are no levels inside the castle, so once we get the last key and bring it to the castle, that will be the end of the game, which is a little bit disappointing. You kind of feel like, Capcom with DuckTales or Mega Man, there would always be another level at the very end that would truly test you, but not here. Nope. We just need to answer 2 trivia questions this time, and if we know the name of the King of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland, which is Little King, well, we'll get the last silver key, and we just need to take it over there in front of the castle, and that's it. We've done it. We've beaten Adventures in the Magic Kingdom. All we can do now is sit back, relax, and enjoy the cheesy ending. Looks like we're going to be able to start that parade on time, and Goofy is thankful too. Yeah, you should be, Goofy. If Walt's head had thawed out because of you, you'd have been in so much trouble. Well, I hope this video was able to help you finally beat Adventures in the Magic Kingdom. If it did, make sure to give it a like, and make sure to subscribe for more videos, because there will always be more keys to find, and that's why we'll be back again next week with another video game you can beat. Thanks for watching.